So, today I'll be talking about the topic that no one really wants to hear. It is just much easier, isn't it, to not think about it, but I think it's really important to understand the impact of the potential recession if that happens to our daily lives and what we can do to prepare for it. Because as anything in life, the more understanding we have about the issue, the better we can be at dealing with it when the issue arises. And in this video, I'll be covering just that. But first and foremost, let's gain more understanding of what recession actually is. Recession is a slowdown or a massive contraction in economic activities, which means that when there is a significant fall in spending, generally that leads to a recession. But it is also important to note that although recession can be unpleasant, alarming, and they will definitely make our lives a lot more difficult, recessions in itself is a natural occurrence in modern economy. And recently, the signs that we are heading into a recession has never been clearer. The most recent indication that I've seen when it comes to inflation is that the unemployment and the layoff is starting to happen. Normally due to recession or prior to recession, because people are spending less, meaning companies will generate less sales, and that means that some of them may have to declare bankruptcy, laying off people, which leads to higher unemployment rates. Recently in the UK, the online car company Kazoo just cut 750 jobs, which is quite alarming. Now in the US, the job cuts is happening at a more rapid rate than the UK. Elon Musk came out to say that he is considering cutting 10% of his staff. And just to put that in context, Tesla employs 100,000 people, means 10,000 people are most likely going to lose their jobs. Peloton is also cutting nearly 3,000 jobs, and Wayfair, the furniture company that is also operating in the UK, is imposing 90 days hiring freeze. So I do think that it may be just a matter of time that more UK-based companies will be cutting people or imposing hiring freezes. The second sign of recession that we have been seeing throughout the year 2022 is the rise in certain commodity prices, especially on the energy and oil. Now my energy bill since I moved to this house was £55 direct debit per month. However, I just renewed my energy contract and the new quote for this year will be £128 every single month. Although it may seem a lot to me, I do know that some of you are paying more, and this will be the impact that we will all have to face for the remaining of 2022, as in October the energy prices might go up again for another 32%. The price of oil has also increased by more than 70% in the past 12 months already. And this is actually caused by many different factors. However, we need to admit that the war in Ukraine took the situation from bad to worse. So it's never been more expensive to fill up your car or heating your home, and that's why you'll have less money to spend on anything else. Everything we buy and consume relies on those commodities, and when the prices rises on these commodities, our cost for other products also rise, which means the rate of inflation rises. Food prices in particular has been hit really hard because it relies on these commodities for production, storage, transportation. Now back in November when I made the video about inflation, the economists thought that the inflation in 2022 would be right around 5%. But as I'm sitting here and making this video, the inflation rate stands at 9%, and it is most likely going to reach a double digit by the end of this year, which is the first time we'll see double digit inflation since the 1980s. And in case you forgot what happened to the UK in 1980s when we had a double digit inflation, a recession. Now the third sign is probably something that you have felt it too, which is a decline in real wages. And I've covered in many videos before in this channel that I feel like in the UK there is a real wage growth problem here, because the growth in wages has been nowhere catching up with the rise in cost of living or the rise in house prices. This puts more pressure to the households, and generally people will only be able to spend less. And just last week, the World Bank actually announced a revised expected global growth from 4.1% to 2.9%. And if that is not a clear sign enough that there will be a global recession, then I don't know what is. Again, I am not saying in any way that we are definitely going to be in a recession, because the truth of the matter is no one really knows, and we don't actually know when it is going to happen neither. However, from the signs that I've seen in the past recent weeks, it is a perfect concoction for a recession. So with that being said, what can we do to prepare for potential tough times ahead? And I'll divide that in 3 different parts. And the first one is, what can we do in terms of our money? And second of all, what we can do in terms of our job security. And third, our mind or our mental health, as a recession may lead to potential job loss or unemployment rate, or even if you're a business owner, your business may be struggling in terms of sales because people are not spending as much. With that in mind, it is really important and it should be in everyone's priority to make sure that we have enough emergency fund. Now, a common advice is to have between 3 months to 6 months of emergency funds saved up. But if we look at the data, on average, recession actually lasts around 11 months. So therefore, it is probably safe to save up to 12 months of emergency fund in case anything happens. So emergency fund is our top priority. The second thing is to look at the current level of debt that you have. Now, it is probably important to note that during this time, to prepare ourselves for potential recession, we should not take on any more debt. Again, because we don't know what will happen. If we were to be one of those unlucky people that get laid off, trying to reduce your fixed monthly cost is the best thing that you can do right now. And when it comes to current debt that you're paying off, if you have saved up enough emergency funds, you might want to be looking at paying off those high interest debts to reduce your monthly cost down further. And those high interest debt normally will come in the form of your credit card debts. And even though maybe a recession may not crystallize, in the past couple of months, we have seen government raising the interest rates. So therefore, paying off your high interest rates will help you reduce a potential increase in interest payments in the future. And because it is important for us to have a strong financial foundation to prepare and to weather the potential upcoming storm. So if you don't currently have a budget, maybe now is the best time to have one. I'll leave the link to my free budgeting template in the description so that you can use and make a start on budgeting. Now, apart from the money side, another impact to our daily lives if the recession actually happens is the job security, and that is something that we need to prepare for. Now, I used to think as a child growing up that having a full-time job is the most secure thing that you can do in terms of job security and income security. However, if anything, 2020 has taught me that this statement is not true. I have learned that although you have your full-time job, it is also important to keep learning, to have different skills that you can potentially make money off if anything goes wrong with your main full-time job. So if you feel a little bit uncertain right now and you feel like your job could be affected, or you are working for an industry that could be affected, maybe it is worth trying to learn something on the side. For example, you can learn how to code, you can learn how to do social marketing. I think Google has Google Ads courses, and that's for free. You can learn how to do bookkeeping. So have various different skills may be able to help you to earn some income if your jobs were to be jeopardized. And if you have the skills already and never try to monetize it, maybe this is time now to start a small side hustle alongside your full-time job so that you can slowly build up your alternative income. It might be worth bearing in mind that changing jobs right just before recession is risky. We've seen in previous economy downturn that companies are most likely going to lay people off based on last in, first out basis. So therefore, think twice before you to making that move to a new job. I am actually changing jobs myself, and I made this decision 2.5 months ago because I am on a 3-month notice. However, if I were to make this decision again, having in mind that the recession is looming, I may be making different decision. And we all know that recession is basically bad news, and it is easy to be obsessed and to overthink and to worry about it. But I think at the end of the day, we are all resilient than we think we are, and most of the time we'll be just fine. If we look at the last 3 recessions in the UK, the 1990s recession lasted 5 quarters, the Great Recession of 2008 lasted 5 quarters, and the COVID mini recession lasted only 2 quarters. So therefore, recessions don't last forever, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel.